The flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has four different kinds of whorls, arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicel, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers, like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When the flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamens or only carpels is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, that is radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, that is bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. Example: mustard, datura, chili. When it can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. Example: pea, gulmohar, bean, cassia. A flower is asymmetric or irregular if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in kanna. The flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the floral appendages are in multiple of 3, 4, or 5 respectively. Flowers with bracts, reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called bractate, and those without bracts are ebractate. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect of the ovary on thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. In the hypogynous flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flowers is said to be superior. Example: mustard, china rose, and brinjal. If the gynoecium is situated in the center or other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior. Example: plum, rose, peach. In epigynous flowers, the margin of thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of the flower arise above the ovary. Hence, the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber, and the ray florets of sunflower. Figure 5.13. Position of floral parts on thalamus. A. Hypogynous. B and C. Perigynous. D. Epigynous. Parts of a flower. Each flower normally has 4 floral whorls, namely calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx. The calyx is the outermost wall of the flower, and the members are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous, that is sepals united, or polysepalous, where sepals are free. Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous, petals united, or polypetalous, where petals are free. The shape and color of corolla vary greatly in plants. Corolla may be tubular, well-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. Estivation. The mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. The main types of estivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. When sepals or petals in a whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in calotropis, it is said to be valvate. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next one, and so on, as in china rose, lady's finger, and cotton, it is twisted. If the margins of sepals or petals overlap one another but not in a particular direction, as in cassia and gulmohar, the estivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest, which is called standard, overlaps the 2 lateral petals, which are wings, which in turn overlap 2 smallest anterior petals, which are called keel. This type of estivation is known as vexillary or papilionaceous. Figure 5.14. Parts of a flower. Figure 5.15. Types of estivation in corolla. A. Valvate. B. Twisted. C. Imbricate. D. Vexillary. Androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens. Each stamen, which represents the male reproductive organ, consists of a stalk or a filament and an anther. Each anther is usually bilobed and each lobe has two chambers, the pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called staminode. Stamens of flowers may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. When stamens are attached to the petals, they are called epipetales, as in brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth, as in the flower of lily. The stamens in flower may either remain free, that is polyandrous, or may be united in varying degrees. The stamens may be united into one branch or one bundle, that is monoadelphous, as in China rose, or two bundles, that is diadelphous, as in pea, or into more than two bundles, that is polyadelphous, as in citrus. There may be a variation in length of filaments within a flower, as in salvia and mustard. Gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of one or more carpels. A carpel consists of three parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary is the enlarged part, basal part, on which lies the elongated tube, the style. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to a flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and rose, and are called apocarpus. They are termed syncarpus when carpels are fused, as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seeds and the ovary matures into fruits. Placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, and free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows, as in pea. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, the placentation is said to be axial, as in China rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or the peripheral part. Ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambered due to the formation of false septum, example mustard and argemone. When the ovules are borne on central axis and septa are absent, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as in sunflower, marigold. Figure 5.16 Types of placentation. A. Marginal, B. Axial, C. Parietal, D. Free central, E. Basal.